All right. So, good day, everyone. So, welcome to our free training on customer service structures in email. So, in this video training, we hope to apply customer service techniques in writing or constructing your emails, and at the same time, provide some guidelines that will make you look professional in terms of your emails. So nowadays, emails are very important because we communicate through writing, right? So through chat, through phone, through writing. So it's best that we apply some techniques that demonstrate our knowledge and professionalism in terms of communicating with our customers. So let's begin with some guidelines in using emails. So just an introduction. So this guidelines about writing emails is called email etiquette. So nowadays, emails have been considered of great value to work because of its ease of use, immediate transfer of information, and can bypass time zones. And working in a corporate or maybe even in a non-corporate environment that utilizes email means using this tool in a professional manner. Remember that when you write your emails, you represent your company and you do not want to misrepresent your company with some unprofessional or let's say not so acceptable behavior whenever you communicate via writing. So the first guideline that we want to mention is that we have to avoid SMS slang. So for example, here we have a sample email, and as you could see, we have here, hi, here's requesting for two reams of bond PPR. We hope to receive the request by Monday, I think. Thanks, Kirk. So as you could see, this is not a good way to write your email because this is text lingo. And you do not want your customers or even your colleagues to read something like this coming from you. So even if you're friends with your colleagues, you still want to maintain a level of professionalism because you never know how that email will be forwarded later on. So what if this email gets forwarded to maybe a higher supervisor or a manager? So you do not want your manager seeing something like this, right? Next, keep your emails short and straight to the point. So emails have to be short and straight to your objectives. Remember that your colleagues or your customers are busy. So you do not want them reading your emails, your very long emails, and waste their time. So just go straight to the point. According to the guidelines, use 4 to 6 lines max per paragraph. And also, whenever you're writing your email, use single space in the body of the email. So try to make your emails concise and straight to the point. Another reminder whenever you have your emails is do not let out sentiments in email. So sometimes we encounter emails from other people that will make you maybe angry or sad or emotional. So avoid letting out your sentiments through email. You do not want people to have a proof of your maybe your outburst in your email. It's understandable that you will feel some emotions in writing your emails. However, it's better that these emotions are left unwritten because remember, emails can be used as proof of your outburst. And remember, whenever we are angry, sometimes we say things that we regret, right? So same in a professional email. We avoid um, saying something emotional. So the best way to handle emotions whenever you have your emails that will trigger you is to maybe breathe and maybe do not reply right away. So maybe set maybe 10 or 30 minutes, okay? And avoid replying right away whenever you feel angry towards the sender of the email. So that you will breathe out, you will feel a little more relieved, and you will not jump into an email that you will regret later on. Next, when writing emails, preempt questions. So remember the goal of emails. Emails are meant to make the communication faster. So remember before, Okay, before emails were crucial to the workplace, we send letters, right? We go to the post office maybe, or maybe send a telegram to another person, and that's very slow. So emails addressed that problem. And if your emails actually bounces back and forth, then you're technically not utilizing emails well, because emails are meant to answer your questions. It's meant to convey information faster. So check if you have answered the what, the where, the who, the when, the why, the how, or the how many. So make sure you have this all in your email whenever applicable. So remember, like what I said, the objectives of using email is to make the transfer of message faster. It's not meant to slow your communication down by replying back and forth. And then use a meaningful subject as well. So subjects need to be short, though they have to convey what the contents is of your email. So you do not need an email subject that is very long, but it has to be concise. So right at the subject, your readers will know what the email is all about, right? And it's also uh, in your experience as well, sometimes you tend to look at subjects and look for certain emails, right? So the subjects help whenever you search your emails. Now, when a reader needs to look for your email again, it is only the subject that they'll rely on. So that's what I'm saying about. Now, sometimes I see this. So using urgency prefixes, sometimes I see subjects that have the words action required or urgent or please read right at the subject line. And this is something that you can use, but do not overdo it. Okay, do not overuse these words, because eventually if you have this in all your emails, it will eventually lose its value. People will start noticing that all your emails have this subject, so they will just ignore the urgency of your email if it is indeed urgent. So instead, you could use the high priority option. So if you have your emails, you will realize that you could navigate it and find that there are different priority options. You could set an email as normal priority or low priority or high priority. Usually high priority emails are marked with a red exclamation point in the receiver's inbox. So that's one way to use urgency or to convey urgency instead of typing these words. So maybe reserve these words whenever it is indeed urgent. Next, use appropriate greeting. Dear, okay, is always the more formal approach. Watch out for the valediction used by the email sender. So sometimes some people use their prefixes like doctor, attorney, or Mr. So if you see that in their email, so use that. That means that is their preferred valediction or prefix, okay, with their name. So another reminder is that if it's your first time to communicate with this customer or with this client or with some other person, use dear. Okay? Use hi later on. If you're already close with that person, that's the time you use hi. But during the first contact, use dear, because it's always safe to use this one instead of saying hi. Now, sometimes if the gender is uncertain, maybe because the name is maybe ambiguous. For example, Alex. Alex could be male, and we know some Alex could be female as well. Marie, for example, could be male. Marie could also be female. So if you are uncertain, try to feel, okay, try to realize it from the way that the customer is talking to you, and use Mr. or Miss. You could also use Miss or Mr. The idea is that put the first one, for example, Mr., if you feel that it's more likely to be male. If you think that it's more likely to be female, then use Miss first. Okay? I hope that's making sense. Next one. So in your subsequent correspondences, so after the first contact, that's the time you could now start saying good morning, and maybe hello if you're starting to get acquainted with your customer or with the receiver of your emails. Watch out for punctuation marks. So, dear, and then with the name of the person has to end with a comma, for example. Or if it's a very formal email, you could use colon. Okay, usually for business letters, that's what we use. Hello, on the other hand, hello or hi. So if you look at this one, hello or hi has the comma, okay, after the hello, before the name, and then another comma right after the name. So this is a common thing that people forget whenever they use hi or hello or even good morning. There should be a comma before the name. Now, how about using of first name in greetings? Use it only when you are asked to do it. Okay? If it's a client, especially if it's a very high-end client, you may want to use the person's last name. So Mr. Reyes, for example, or Miss Santos. So only use the first name if you already know the client well enough. Okay? So remember though, that should you use the client's first name, so still, if it's a high-end client, try to use Mr. or Miss or Sir at the beginning. Okay? I know some would say that using this is very old school, that you use the name itself. For example, hello Diane or good morning John. It really depends on the culture of your company. If your company avoids or doesn't use prefixes like Mr. or Miss or Sir, then go ahead, use it. But if you feel that you have to give some extra respect to the person you're talking to, then you may want to use these ones instead. Okay? Of course, in the American culture, for example, in BPOs, the American culture is very prominent. They usually don't use this Mr., Miss, or Sir anymore. So it really depends on the environment or the culture of your workplace. So try to observe what the others are doing, or maybe ask your supervisor as well. Now, always maintain political correctness. Okay, our next guideline, whenever we are writing our email, never put greetings such as God bless or Merry Christmas or in the year of our Lord 2018, because you never know the religion of the person you are speaking to or writing to, right? Maybe they do not celebrate Christmas. Maybe they're not Christian. Okay? So avoid it. Okay? Do not put some religiously charged greetings in your email. Also, avoid putting quotes or Bible verses in your signature. Sometimes I see this, and in general, avoid using quotes. Okay? Sometimes I see quotable quotes right after or maybe before the email signature. Avoid doing that because those are considered distractions. So do not think that people will get inspired with the simple quotation mark. So I've seen some people retaliate about that concept. They want to inspire people. Unfortunately, it's not your job to inspire people. People do not get inspired simply by reading quotes, to be straightforward. Okay? Because if that's that easy, then maybe no one should be that demotivated, right? So avoid putting them. They're just considered distractions. So follow the prescribed format in the body. So use bullets or numbers when you are enumerating. Reply in the same language. So if you are in a bilingual workplace, if the person is talking to you or writing to you in English, then reply in English as well. If that person started talking to you in a language that you're familiar, maybe in Filipino in our scenario, then reply or use Taglish maybe, or reply in Tagalog as well. Okay, but let the client or the customer decide if you're going to switch to your vernacular. But usually English is always safe. Okay? So it's a more professional writing language, okay? Because you never know. It's the lingua franca, right? It's the one that most people will speak. So try to use that, especially if you're not familiar with the language of the one you're talking to. And then another one, when you have your body of the email, remove any internal email thread. So sometimes I've seen this kind of email wherein the user is, let's say, communicated with somebody inside the company before going back or replying back to you, to the customer. And the conversation between maybe the internal employee and that person is included in the email that was sent outside to the customer. So remove that. You have to hide, no, what you and maybe your supervisor or another colleague discussed. You do not want those internal conversations to be read by your customers. Next guideline, minimize emoticons and never use animated GIFs. Emoticons are okay. They are acceptable. If you look at dictionaries nowadays, emoticons are already present, but do not overuse it. Okay, do not put emoticons every end of the sentence. You do not want to look or make your email look funny or unprofessional with too many emoticons. Emoticons help because sometimes, for example, you have to say something, maybe something that is quite strict. Maybe you want to tell a customer about a certain rule or a certain policy that that customer may retaliate. So you may want to put a happy face emoticon. So at least that will help in toning down your email. Okay. Sometimes we have to tell the customer that he or she did wrong. Okay. And you can tone your emails down by putting emoticons. So those are the right time to use emoticons. Avoid using image emoticons like what we are seeing here. So instead, use the default ones, the one that you could create using the colon and the parentheses. Use those instead. Okay, don't be creative and download something and put some emoticons. You never know if there's a virus with those downloads. Never use stationeries. So speaking of trying to look fancy, avoid using stationery. So some email clients have this feature wherein you could put some background in your emails. Do not do it. Okay, it's always unprofessional to do that unless it's a branding. Okay, if it's in your signature, fine. But if it's on the email itself like this and it's like teddy bears, unless you're selling teddy bears, then don't. Okay, use stationaries. And then finally, use appropriate closing. So use only these ones, thank you or sincerely. So these ones are usually safe. Okay. Thanks is informal. So use thanks if you're already close with the person you're talking to. Maybe it's somebody inside your company who you usually communicate. So thanks is usually fine. But when you are speaking with clients, thank you is usually okay. And so as sincerely. And make sure to put your name after the closing. Okay, after this valid or closing remark. Okay. Now use correct signature. Your company may have a uniform signature, so use that. Okay. So this somehow signifies how systematic your company is. So if you have that, use it and do not change the colors, for example. Okay. So avoid creating your own design or adding colors or changing the font. Okay, than what is prescribed. And then your signature should also contain another way of contacting you, like a phone or mobile number. Remember that some people are not yet acquainted with emails. Some people don't even have an email, or some people don't even how to use emails. They're just forced. So they still prefer phones or mobile. So put your mobile number there. Next one, use the to and the CC correctly. The to field pertains to the primary email recipient. So put the email address here if these are the people who are supposed to respond to your email. Okay. On the other hand, the CC field stands for carbon copy. It's usually reserved for people who are just uh, there to know about the existence of the email. They're not meant to reply. They're not meant to react. Okay. So use the CC field for them. On the other hand, BCC, or the blind carbon copy, is used whenever you send an email blast or an email to many people. Because if you don't, okay, if you put many email addresses, maybe in the CC or in the to field, people can see all those emails. And if they click reply all, then all those recipients will get a response. And I think many people, you have experienced some people replying, "This is noted," okay, when and sending it to everyone because they clicked reply all. So avoid doing that. Um, Replying to all just to say this is noted is something that is spammy in nature. So don't. And also, using the BCC field can prevent that because in the BCC, if that person clicks reply all, then that person cannot really send it to everyone because that person do not have access or doesn't have access to all those email addresses. So it's a way to hide email addresses and prevent spamming at the same time. So that's the correct use of BCC. Now it's time to um, give or demonstrate some structures in emails. So emails and social media comments are now becoming a common way to reach customers. So the same aspects of customer service is applied even in email or written form. So with the addition of ensuring correct grammar and using words to the benefit of having a smooth conversation. So some tips in handling emails. Number one, read through the email twice. Okay, especially those who are really tasked to reply to emails. So read it twice and identify and highlight any direct questions. You do not want the customer thinking that there is a concern that you failed to address. Also, look for any inaccuracies. Okay, so you may want to inspect an email before replying and be careful about it. No, make sure that you check every concern that is written or implied in the email. Sometimes it's not directly written, there's an implied concern. So you may want to address those as well. Now, write direct responses to any embedded questions you found in the email, and do not comment or respond to any insults or accusations unless it is with factual information to correct an inaccuracy. So sometimes we may get carried away replying to an email that will trigger you, and you may respond to an insult. Sometimes in customer service, it's best to ignore these insults and do not answer them directly. So maybe address the main concern. Insults are usually just added by customers. They usually have a main concern. So you address the main concern instead of addressing the insult. And then, as a customer service representative or a person who employs customer service at work, close your email with both your first name and last name. Okay? Again, it depends on your office culture if you can close with the first name. But whenever you deal with clients, external clients, then maybe put your entire name, first name and last name, unless you are dealing with a client who already knows you well enough. Okay, next one, check the grammar to be sure that there are no errors in the writing mechanics. Then read the reply out loud if possible, okay, to yourself, so that you are sure that what you said is correct. So let's have a demonstration of an email structure. So here we have begin your reply. No, for example, so replying to if we are replying to a complaint. So begin your reply with a statement that acknowledges receiving the email. So something like this. Dear Mr. Chua, thank you for raising this concern via email. So acknowledge that you received the email. And don't forget to thank the customer, especially if it's the first time that you will reply to your customer. Thank that customer for sending you an email. Remember, that customer spent some time writing that email. So they wanted to communicate with you. So it's something to be thankful for, that but that people are concerned. No, they want to communicate with you. It's worse if people do not want to communicate with you anymore. Okay, that's not good for business. So after your acknowledgement, then you paraphrase the concern and apologize if needed. Okay, so maybe something like this. As I understand, the item you received from us has defects. We sincerely apologize for this. So you may want to shorten or provide a short summary of what the customer's concern is all about. Okay, so you want to show, okay, your customer where you are coming from when you have your reply. Okay, so this is how, it's like saying, this is how I understood your concern. I apologize for that. And then that's the time you provide the solution. Okay? So by putting a paraphrasing, paraphrase means summarizing the customer's concern in a different way, in a way that is simpler. At least the customer will not be confused about the solution that you will provide afterwards. That customer will now know that the solution you are providing is based on your understanding. And this is how he or she, or this is how you understood the customer. So it minimizes miscommunication. Sometimes we tend to just reply right away. And sometimes customers may get confused. Why is this person saying this? This is not the solution I'm looking for. So at least when you use a paraphrase line, okay, it explains how you are or how you understood the customer. So after you provide the solution to your customer, you then provide an assurance statement. So something like, rest assured, we will exchange your item as soon as possible. So solution and then an assurance statement. So as you could see, there are some formalities before you go to the solution. Many people I see, they just jump to the solution right away. So that's very uh, common, okay? And that's not that you have to improve the structure of your email, okay? And finally, provide another means to contact you if possible. Okay, so you may reach me. Remember what I told you a while ago? Some people use email because they do not have any other ways to communicate with you, but sometimes they do want to communicate with you via phone or via voice. So maybe provide them that if possible. Remember that these guidelines that I mentioned to you may vary depending on your company. So you may want to consult with your team leader or your supervisor on how your emails are supposed to be structured. All right? So I hope you learned something new in our short video about constructing emails and employing some customer service techniques and ideologies in your email address. So after this, you can take the quiz found in the description box or description of this video, and then once you pass the quiz, you can wait for your certificates 3 to 5 business days. Please give the team time to create or complete your certificates. All right. So thank you for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to use the message or the chat of this YouTube video, and I will be the one answering your concern. All right. Thank you, everyone, and see you in our next courses. Thank you.